Here we go again. Today, we're back with another mock draft. Mock draft. Number 3. Now, today, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to put some trades in here. Now, I'm doing this kind of because of who sits at number 2. Now, I think the Titans are going to take an edge rusher. I think it's clear as day. At 1, I think they'll end at 1, but I do not think the Giants will end at 2. And it's kind of hard for me to pick with them at 2 because it's a reach for most of the players there because they don't need a quarterback. Jackson Dart looks good. He's, one of the top guys for offensive rookie of the year, but just a couple trades. So let's get right into it. Pick number 1. Now, I know I've been big on Bane. And Arvell Reese, I kept saying last 2 weeks. He keeps climbing, and I think he's climbed. I think he's the number 1 pick right now. So yeah, I mean he's like, I think Bane's a really good prospect. I think they both go top 5, top 7 ish. But I think right now Arvell Reese looks like the better player. Now right here, I don't think the Giants. I mean, you could go best player available in theory. You could theoretically take Caleb Downs with the Giants at number 2. It'd be a reach because no safety's ever gone there before. Jordan Tyson wouldn't be bad, but again, a reach at 2, especially when you have 3 QB needy teams behind you. So, without further ado, my trade here would be with the Jets. Oh, I chose the wrong team. Oops. Moving down to 5. Let's just put it at that for now. So, now, I think the Jets will end up probably here. The big game this week is the Browns and Raiders. Obviously, the Jets beat the Browns as well, so they have that tiebreaker. The Saints, I don't think will end up bottom 5. I think the Raiders are worse than them. I do think the Giants and Saints is close. Saints obviously beat them, but let's get into it. The best quarterback in the draft. Now, I think there's a real shot for Ty Simpson to be the number 1 pick or the number 1 quarterback off the board. But I think Mendoza is a perfect fit. I think he fits exactly what Aaron Glenn wants to do. Aaron Glenn's a very smart coach. He's a very he runs his team very well. I know the team, the performance isn't there on the field, but Dan Campbell, he didn't build Detroit in a day. They went through shit, and now they're here. So I think Mendoza's the best quarterback in the class. He's just intelligent. He's a good passer. He's just got such a nice arm, and he's my QB1 and my QB2. Now I think Simpson would be perfect in New Orleans as well. I think Mendoza actually fits New Orleans quite well too. I like Simpson in Cleveland though. I really do. And I think right here, I do think Simpson would be the pick. I think, you need a couple things. Receiver, definitely in question. As Jerry Jeudy just sucks. Tillman, Isaiah Bond, when I drafted. You could go Ruben Bain. Obviously, that defense is really good. Could use an edge rusher on the other side of Myles Garrett. But I don't expect them to use 2 top 5 picks in a row on a defender when you have such a glaring need at quarterback. You're trying to compete with Myles Garrett at the end of the day. I think Ty Simpson's a pick. He's just an intelligent quarterback. He just has a nice arm. I know a lot of people say, product of, the players around him. It's hard for that not to happen. But you got to look at how much better Alabama is with a confident passer. He's got a good arm. He makes smart plays. That's what you just need. You need a guy who just wins games too. At the end of the day, you need a guy who's a winner. And I think Ty Simpson is the second best quarterback. Now, obviously, this is kind of hard because I don't think Dante Moore is going to come out of college, and I really do think there is a shout for the Saints to take Ruben Bain here, depending on how Tyler Shuck ends the season. I'm not going to go with that because I do think they're going to take a quarterback. At this given time, I really do think they could take Jordan Tyson. But now that I do think, yeah, I mean, I think right now, Shuck looks fine. So I do think they may pass up on it. So I'm actually going to change what I originally had for this pick, which was to be Dante Moore. But I just think Ruben Bain's a better pick. Cam Jordan's old. Chase Young's not it. I think this just makes a lot of sense for them to take, arguably the best player in the class. So now, pick number 5. Now we've got the Giants. The Giants could take Jordan Tyson. I don't think they will. I think you're trading down here because you want to get Caleb Downs still, and I think at 5 you could do that. And I think Caleb Downs is the slam dunk pick. Although Jordan Tyson does make a lot of sense because a wide receiver too, while Neighbors has an injury, would be a good pick. I know Wandale's a good player, Sladen behind him, Theo Johnson, but giving Dart more weapons at the end of the day would be great. But getting a guy like Caleb Downs, who's a great leader, super talented, he could play corner. I mean, he's just very versatile. So, now pick 6. I love this fit for Dante Moore more than I liked the Saints one. Way more. I don't know why. It's just like, I think Vegas is a good spot for him. It's a young team. Obviously, you got Genty. You got Bowers. It would be a good team for him to develop with. I know it's a tough division where you have 3 really good defenses. But I think, Dante Moore, I would like to see them fire Chip Kelly. If they don't, I don't want anything to do with this fit here. But I do think, Jordan Tyson's definitely in, potential to be picked here. Originally, I had Jordan Tyson in this one, but I don't think they're going to do that. So, Dante Moore, it is. Now, pick 7. Originally, I had Ruben Bain, but my pick. Now, I do think Keldrick Falk, or Peter Woods, very possible. I do think, either one is definitely could be taken here because they do really need a defender. But I think Tyson's a pick here. Now, McLaurin is 30. Debo's 30. Injured on both. You got a young quarterback, Jane Daniels, 24. Now, offensive line definitely could be the pick, but I think Tyson is just an elite talent, and I do think this is somewhere where they pick him. I really liked Vegas as a spot for him if they were going to draft a quarterback in the second round or something. Obviously, Vegas has a couple issues because they have multiple needs. They have the immediate need at offensive lineman. They have the immediate need at receiver. They have the immediate need at quarterback. I think they could get the receiver in free agency. Maybe that's with George Pickens. So, yeah. So, I'm going to stick with Tyson. I think that's a good pick. Now to pick 8. Now, the Falcons. They traded for James Pierce, and they gave up this pick. And they're probably going to end up as a bottom 5 team. With Kirk Cousins playing, no Penix for the season, Drake London's injured, Kyle Pitts is a bum. You got Bijan, you got Algier, you got Darnell Shitter. It's not looking good. I think the Rams, perfect pick. Offensive lineman, it's boring. They don't need a defensive tackle. I do think they could take a receiver. I really do. But I think offensive line makes a lot more sense. Their tackles have been hurt and inconsistent. I know Havenstein at right tackle has been injured a lot the last couple of years. So to pick 9. Now I think 2 guys are in the cards here. I don't think they're going to take an offensive lineman. I do think the picks are between Peter Woods and Keldrick Falk. I do think Peter Woods makes more sense because they need that interior defender. I know I picked that last time. It's kind of boring because picking a defender, you don't want to see that really. But I really like him as a player. If they want to use him as a fullback, shit. I mean, it's worked for Clemson a little bit, right? So. Now, I know last time I said I don't think the right tackle spot is, like picking a player. Obviously, Jonah Williams is expiring his contract at the end of this year because they restructured it. It was originally 4 years. I really do think they could take a right tackle. And I think Moaga makes a lot of sense here. I don't think they're going to take another defender. Receiver, no, I don't think so because I like Michael Wilson. Um, Again, Jeremiah Love makes a lot of sense too. It's kind of hard because I do really think they would take Love here. But also an offensive lineman at right tackle makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go with Love. I think this just makes a ton of sense. They need a running back. James Conner's probably done for his career. Trey Benson's not a great player. He's not healthy. And, I mean, I don't even need to start with the guys behind him, right? Like, let's not take the piss. Now for Miami. Miami, I do think they really could take Carnell Tate, with Tyreek Hill probably done for his career, but they need an edge rusher, and Keldrick Falk would be a good pick. Clear as day, right? Like, so. Now, Minnesota. Now, Minnesota, you want to look at the needs. Corner, linebacker, D-line, edge. Mansour Delane. Now, Mansour Delane, I really had, Minnesota, Dallas, a couple other teams. Carolina, I like for him too. I think Mansour Delane would be a good pick here. It just makes a lot of sense. Offensive line, I don't think they need it that much. I know Darisa's been hurt, but I don't think it's going to happen. Receiver doesn't make sense. T.J. Parker's reach, in my opinion, at 12. I think Delane would be a really good prospect. They need another corner with Byron Murphy. After they, a safety would be good too. They'll need to draft a safety in this class. I mean, like, you get a couple different guys. A guy from Toledo, so, that's always cool. Now, Dallas. Dallas, originally, I actually had Delane, and I had Love with Minnesota. Now, there's a couple different ways Dallas could go. Now, I think Pickens is going to resign. I do. So it's hard for me not to pick. But like, I don't want to pick Tate. Now, T.J. Parker, very, very possible. As well. An edge rusher. I think I've had David Bailey for them. I know they have 2 draft picks in this one as well, 13 and 24. I do think they could get a receiver at that other pick if they wanted to. And they could get an edge rusher at that other pick too. So, but I think the immediate need right here, I do think they're going to take a corner. I think Delane, I've said a couple times, I think Delane and McCoy are very good prospects. I think Delane's a little bit better, but we'll see. Now at 14, we've got the Ravens. I know they need offensive line. It's going to suggest edge rushers. I do agree with that too, but I think the pick is Carnell Tate. I've had Tyson here a bit. I've had Lemon. I think I even projected him there. I think it just makes a lot of sense. Now, the Chiefs. There's 2 guys here. Moaga, obviously, because he drops a ton in, based on this right now. There's just not a lot of teams, in these last couple picks that I would think would take him. Baltimore definitely could, but I do really think they need the receiver. They need to get him a number 1 option if they want to win a Super Bowl at the end of the day. They need offensive linemen. I do agree with that. Dallas, they don't really need one. Minnesota, meh. Kansas City, I do really think they could take an offensive lineman, but I do think it's the end of Travis Kelce, and I do think Kenyon Sadiq is a great talent. I know his stats, are a little, like, lower, but I don't really worry about that because it's such a good offense, and he's just such an elite talent. I think the Combine and the Pro Day will make him go up a lot in his stock, and I think he would be a perfect guy for them to take. Now, I do really think they could take Moaga. They probably would because their GM is terrible, but yeah, now to 16. Originally, I had Proctor, Moaga. He falls here. He's a pick. He's just a better talent right now. Proctor's a little more flawed, but, he's pretty good. So, Here for the Panthers, I know they have Leggett, and I know they have Coker, and I know people like those guys. But I do really like Makai Lemon, and I do really think they could take it. Edge rusher would be good, but I don't think they're going to take it. Corner is a real need, though, and I think Terrell would be a really good pick. It's really between Makai Lemon and Terrell for me. Edge rusher definitely could do it, but I think, that CB2 is definitely a position of need. Um, Wide receiver 2, definitely a position of need, but it's a deep receiver class. I think the pick is Terrell here. Terrell here. So Detroit. Now Detroit needs a tackle. Taylor Decker looks like he's at the end um, of his tenure there. He just hasn't been healthy. Hasn't been that good. I think Proctor makes a lot of sense. He falls here. He's just a Dan Campbell pick. It's taking an offensive lineman, it's boring, but it has to be done. The Broncos, they took Garrett Bowles. He took 4 years to develop, and he was so good that year, and he has been great since. I love him, bro. So, no problem there. Now, 19 and 20. The Browns. The Browns could take an edge rusher. I don't think they will. I think the pick's just Lemon. Obviously, I projected Ty Simpson there. I think Lemon just makes a ton of sense. I think he's very close to Tate. I think Tyson is definitely the best prospect in the class, but I think Lemon just makes a ton of sense. You want to draft a quarterback early, you support him with a great receiver. And I think Lemon is a really good receiver. Yes, he's undersized. Yes, he's got, yeah, like his size is such an issue, but you could be successful being, he's 5'11", so he's an elite catcher of the football. He's an elite playmaker. He just gets, he just can't be stopped. Now Tampa Bay. Now Tampa Bay definitely needs a receiver. Now originally I had David Bailey, which I think is a fair pick. I think their edge rushing could definitely be better. I think Sonny Styles is a really interesting pick here too. I think Sonny Styles makes a little more sense. I do like TJ Parker, but his stock's definitely down across the board. But it's hard not to be down with your stock when you played for Clemson and they had such a mid-year. So Sonny Styles is a really good tackler. I think he's a really good player. They're looking for that Levante David replacement long term. I think he just makes a ton of sense. I think he's a pick. Now Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh quarterback, cornerback, offensive line. I'm just gonna go Caleb Lomo. He makes a lot of sense. They need a left tackle. Edge rusher, meh. Boston, definitely possible, but it's just not a Mike Tomlin pick. It just doesn't make sense. I think offensive line is definitely a key need. I do really think they'd benefit from taking a quarterback, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So yeah. Like Boston's a really good talent, but it's just not a Pittsburgh pick, bro. Pittsburgh pick is, we could go at receiver. Let's take a look. Like this is it. This is literally the player they would take, like him or Malachi Fields, guaranteed. Cooper Percotti, haven't heard a lot about him, so I'm not really familiar. But now the Chargers, they need offensive line. They really do. But an edge rusher, TJ Parker, David Bailey, both of them fall here. I think it's hard to turn it down. You're looking for guys long term. Mac is at the end or getting close to it. The same, Bosa obviously left last year, so it's, makes it a lot difficult, or really difficult. So yeah. Now, San Fran. Now I had them taking Lomu. Obviously, I projected him to go to Pittsburgh, so I think a pick here that makes sense. David Bailey, definitely. They need an edge rusher. They really need help there. I know, Huff's been hurt. Bosa's been hurt. We'll see what he is post-injury. Michael Williams didn't really look that good. Just makes a lot of sense to do that. And then we've got Dallas. Now, Dallas, if Pickens leaves, obviously I'd project receiver immediately. But I think you really need an edge rusher. Post Parsons, you get the guy from Texas, Cassius Howell. He's a good prospect. Makes a lot of sense. There you go. So, now the Bears, edge rusher, RB, safety. I mean, we could look at RB. You don't have anybody up there. Unfortunately, it's a very weak running back class. I really do like Justice Haynes. He's hurt, unfortunately. Jonah Coleman's a good player. Singleton's had a worse year, but Claiborne's good. I don't know about this guy because he's North Dakota State, but Darius Taylor's been hurt. Makai Hughes not even coming out. Jaden Ott, I doubt it either. Emmett Johnson is a really good prospect if he comes out this year. He's had another good year at Nebraska. I don't project him to come out this year. It's the same with Sellers. I don't think Sellers is going to do it. I don't think, even at quarterback. Maava, I doubt it. Mateer, I doubt it. Who else? Sam Levitt, I doubt it. Kevin Jennings, no chance. Childs, no. Green, no. Yamalava, definitely not. But, he's built his stock back up, right? Chicago, clear as day. They need an edge rusher. That defense looks better. They do. The corners are definitely worse, too, but Montez Sweat, unfortunately, taking a step back. So you need to get some production on the edge rush side. This defense got a lot of takeaways. It would make a lot of sense. Oogala boogala. So, now, I projected Denzel Boston here every single time. Every mock I think I've done, I projected Denzel Boston to Buffalo because I think he's just a home run pick for Billy Bean? Brandon Bean? What's his name? Brandon Bean. And they need a receiver to get Allen because Keon has been dog shit. And he just sat out this week because he can't even make it to meetings. That's the second time that's happened. Forget about it. He could be a cut candidate next season. So, now, Seattle, boring pick. I had Anthony Hill here. Now, Ione, Falls, they need an inside offensive lineman. Definitely. C.J. Allen makes sense. Anthony Hill makes sense. You're going to go with, the guy that you need. It's a boring pick always, but it's just how it's going to be. Now, the Jets have a couple interesting options here. I had them take an edge rusher before because it makes a lot of sense. C.J. Allen definitely up there as well. They have linebacker lower. They say D-line, edge, safety. So, LT Overton, I'm not sure about that right now, but, Caleb Banks, it feels like a reach. I do really think Chris Bell is on the table here, and I do think they might take him. Because if you're drafting a quarterback, you want to give him weapons. I know Garrett Wilson's really good. You got Mason Taylor. Unless you're going to sign a receiver, your wide receiver 2 is John Mechie, and that's just not going to cut it. Give me Chris Bell for your first-round quarterback. The Rams. Now, we have the Rams again. And, oh, brother, I really do think they could take a quarterback here. I don't think they're going to take one with the first pick, but I do think they could take one here. I know Stafford's 38, so it's kind of scary thinking about the fact that they could win the Super Bowl and take a quarterback in the top 10 or 7 or whatever the hell they end up. Or they could take it with their other pick. I don't think they're going to take Sellers. I just don't. I don't think that's a fit with McVay. I just don't see it. I think C.J. Allen makes a lot of sense. I know they need both, either one of these. Colton Hood would be good. C.J. Allen would be good. I think Colton Hood makes a ton of sense just because their corners are a little weaker. They're just trusting a lot of guys that haven't had a lot of time as starters. So I think that just makes a lot of sense. Now the Pats here, originally I had Chris Bell. I do think Conception is definitely on the table. I think Brazil is definitely up there too. I think both going hand in hand. I think Conception is a better prospect. I think we're just going to project him there. Um, I really hope Denver gets him because I think he's the fifth best guy, and I think he could go over Boston, depending on how the rest of the season goes. Now, she's Philly. We know they love Georgia players, and it's C.J. Allen for this one. They need a linebacker. They need edge rushers. I think they could take Overton, but I think Allen makes a ton of sense. They need some guys in the middle, definitely. Now, Denver, no. Edge rusher doesn't make sense. Quarterback doesn't make sense. D-line, no. Edge rusher. Chris Brazil's definitely the play here. I think Anthony Hill's really on the table there. I do think he's a first-round grade player. I do think, you could make that argument that he goes, top 25, top 20. So, that's all, yeah. I want to see the grades for these players. A for Love. Oh, yeah, they didn't have a pick. A plus. I just want to see, how I did, basically. A plus, nice. A. I want to see if they, A plus on both. See? A and A plus, okay. A. I got a bad, I don't think I've ever had a bad one on this. Oh, Green Bay doesn't pick either. Neither do the Colts. Okay. Texans, A plus. Yeah. If he falls, that's unbelievable, to be honest. So, the Jacks don't pick either. Kenyon Sadiq. I don't know how to sign A plus. A plus there. The Rams, A and A plus. I really do, I do not hope the Rams have a top 5 pick and win the Super Bowl. That would really suck. Yeah. A plus and T.J. Parker. B. Okay, here's a bad grade. They give me a bad grade on Keldrick Falk. So, that's B plus on them. So, weird. I don't know who they think I should have taken, but Conception and A, I guess. Any Pats fan would fucking comment that, bro. Urbane. Already did the Giants, dumbass. A plus, A plus. Philly, B plus on CJ Allen. Oh, okay. They're going to say I should have taken a quarterback. Yeah, okay. San Fran, A plus. Yeah, I think any San Fran fan would be happy with that. So, and Sonny Styles. Oh, I clicked the wrong team. A and Arvell Reese, I guess, and Jordan Tyson in A plus. Love that. So, if we scroll down here, Reese, Mendoza, Simpson, etc. I think this is just. I think I did a better job, honestly. I only incorporated one trade because I do not think the Giants will be there. It's just hard for me to pick at 2 for the Giants when I just don't think they would take Ruben Payne. If you want, you have to project a pick there. And I do think there's, the Rams are in a trade-out spot too. If someone wants to take Sellers or, elite player like Tyson or Downs. So, yeah, that's all for me. Let me know what y'all think. If you agree with any of the picks or you disagree, and you hate it, leave some comments. Let me hear it. I'll see y'all.